A few weeks ago I hosted a VR event at a local bookstore. I offered a variety of games and experiences for first-timers. People seemed to enjoy it. I'm sure you remember your first time in VR. Unsurprisingly, the game people played the most was Beat Saber. That game is so simple. There's no buttons or anything, you just need your arms, your reflexes, and a sense of rhythm. Anyway, after the event, I had the idea of drawing a Beat Saber scene using Tilt Brush. So here's how that went. Before I jump into Tilt Brush, I decided to sculpt the player character in Oculus Medium. I made a rough mannequin sketch, I posed him in the pose I wanted, and I started fleshing it out. I shaved down the shoulders because they were a little too prominent. I decided to give him a punk rocker look with a red t-shirt, black leather jacket, and blue jeans. Started sculpting the jacket over the t-shirt. It looks blobby at first, but then I smoothed it out. I shaved down the bits that were too lumpy, gave it a color, adjusted the neckline, started coloring in the legs and fleshing them out, adjusting little details to give it a more believable look. With the jacket sculpted in, the shoulders were again a little too broad, so I shaped them down again. I started detailing the hands, but not too much. Didn't want the model to be too detailed, because Tilt Brush doesn't handle highly detailed models well, and also because frankly I'm not that good at sculpting yet. I figured Lego-like hands would be easiest for him gripping the Beat Saber swords. The face is always the most difficult part for me. I suck at sculpting faces, so I decided to leave it mostly featureless. Besides, most of his head will be occupied by his hair and the VR headset he's wearing. With the headset complete, the player model was basically done, and then I jumped into Tilt Brush. In Tilt Brush I started by importing the model that I exported from Medium, placing it in the scene and scaling it to almost life size. I started painting the platform on which the player character stands. I imported some screenshots from the game to serve as a reference. I outlined the platform. I'm not sure if that's how it looks in the game, but I wanted to highlight it a little in the scene I'm painting. I adjusted the backdrop colors between blue and red. Next I started working on the platform on which the note blocks come at the player. It's a really long platform and extends into distance, but obviously I couldn't make it infinitely long in the scene. Here's how long it looks. In VR it looks much longer. I started adding some decoration to the scene. In the game there are plenty of pillars and such that react to the music and flash in different colors. The most recognizable to Beat Saber players are these squares that rotate above the platform. I tried to replicate them. Here's a time when I really miss the precision of programs like Gravity Sketch and Oculus Medium. In Tilt Brush you have to do everything by hand and kind of eyeball it. Adding more decoration to the scene, neon lines and such. At this point the scene is starting to come together. I added some floating rocks in the distance just to add some depth. Now I start working on the player character himself, adding the nominal Beat Sabers. The right hand contains the blue one and the left one contains the red one. They're lightsabers, that's what they are. Next I start working on the note blocks themselves, or the beat blocks. They're a little wonky, but I didn't care too much at this point. You'll notice I got the colors wrong. I put the blue on the left and the right on the red, but I'll correct it at some point in the video. I started outlining the cubes, which also does not exist in the game, and I added the direction arrows also on the wrong side. I made a lot of mistakes with the note blocks. Here I'm looking at reference pictures, noticing my mistake with the position of the arrows. I started laying out the blocks in a believable way that would make sense as a beat map in the game. A very easy one at that. More decorations off in the distance just to add more depth to the scene. At this point I started adding the blocks that are being sliced by the player character in this moment that's being captured. A red one and a blue one. I added the speed lines to show the movement of the sabers, Here I look at the screenshot and realize that the blocks don't actually have an outline around them. And I start the very long and tedious process of erasing the outlines one by one on each note block. I'll spare you the details by just fast forwarding. So here I'm adding some sparks being let off by the slicing of the blocks. At this point I'm basically done. I'm just taking a look at the scene, trying to decide if there's anything I want to add or remove. I got a little bored, made a little mustache, erased it. Here you'll notice I erased the speed lines because I didn't like them. I wanted the scene to be a little simpler. And this is it. This is the scene. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this look into VR painting and sculpting. I love creating art in VR, and I'll definitely be posting more similar videos. Stay tuned!